In this lecture, I'm going to show you how I prepare my signal processing lectures using Photoshop and Camtasia screen recording software. What I've got going here is I'm recording the screen of my Macintosh computer using Camtasia, which is a very powerful, relatively inexpensive piece of software for recording what's on the screen and capturing the audio with that. Normally, I only record from within the Photoshop canvas, which is this white area here, but I'm recording the entire screen this time so that you can see how this works. Now, I chose Photoshop, although it's perhaps a little bit more powerful than is needed for what I'm doing, but I wanted to have a file format that was enduring, that would be around in 5 years if I wanted to edit something. And a typical inexpensive painting package, I had concerns about longevity. I also wanted to be able to easily import different types of graphic formats and build my content on a page-by-page basis. And I'll show you how I do that. And then finally, I wanted to be able to convert content that I prepared for these lectures to a PDF file. Now what I do is I actually prepare my Photoshop file ahead of time, and I import all my graphics, I write out all my statements that I want to appear and equations and so on, because I found that I ended up with a better quality visual result than trying to do it on the fly as I was recording. And it also saved me a lot of editing time from removing dead space, which occurred while I was writing. So here I have a Photoshop template that I generated, and you can see that it consists of a title slide, and we can bring that up here. I'm going to close the view of page 1. By clicking on the little eye, you bring that layer to the front and make it visible. So this happens to be a title slide. Then I have 6 different pages in my template. I've never gone to 6 pages, I don't think, at least in terms of trying to keep a lecture to 15 minutes. And then I've included just a copyright text at the end, and you can see that if I turn one on and I don't turn the other off, that they overlap one another. So when I go through this while I'm speaking, I simply am clicking on the different layers that I wish to be visible. So let's go back here to the title, and we can easily change that using the text tool, and we'll highlight that, and I'll type a title in here. Now that that's done, I'll work on page 1, and I've built page 1 up. We will build it up further using layers. So I select this layer so that I can write in there. And then rather than using the text tool, most of the time I prefer writing by hand. Now I do this using a bamboo tablet that I have attached to my USB port on my Macintosh. So I can write text in this window using the pen tool, and it looks like I've got the color blue selected here. So the first thing you need to do is think about what you want to have on your presentation. Now let's suppose that that's the first thing that I want to appear, and then I later want to bring in a second point, and we'll do that by adding another layer. And I'm going to do Command-Shift-N here, which creates a new layer. We were working in layer 1-1. I'm going to make this layer 1-2. Okay, so now you can see I've got layer 1-2 here, and we'll write something in this layer, and let's change the color to make it appear more important. And you can see how slowly I write, why it takes me longer if I try to write and talk at the same time. It's much easier for me to do all the writing first. It also helps me plan out my presentation in an efficient way. So now I have these 2 layers, and we can remove one of them from visibility just by clicking the eye icon. There I removed the layer 1. Here I've got layer 1 back, and I can remove layer 2. And so when I step through my presentation, I'm going to first bring this up, talk about it, then I'll add in my second point, and so on. I'll go through the whole presentation. Now let's add some graphics to this document. Create another layer. We'll call this layer 1-3. Now I'm going to open another file to find some graphic content. So here I've got some EPS files, encapsulated postscripts. I can add those to my document by opening it. And then we'll select this and copy it and go back to our template document here, and we'll try to paste that in layer 3. Okay, so there I've pasted that in layer 3. I can adjust its position using the tool that allows you to move things, and we can annotations to this as well. For example, let's suppose that we want to use the pen tool to mark out the pass band of this particular filter. I can put marks on here showing where the pass band is, and also I could put a mark here showing where the stop band approximately is for this particular filter. And of course, you can annotate things as you go along once you are actually recording your presentation. So we'll repeat this process for each page that we want to build up as we go through our lecture. Then once we have that file ready, we can actually record the lecture. Now I've changed the recording region in Camtasia so that I'm only recording from the Photoshop file that we created just a second ago. So we're going to close page 1 here, and I'm going to turn off, before I close page 1, I'm going to turn off layer 2 and layer 3, and then we'll close page 1 and go back to the title. So this is a recording of making this demo presentation, and we'll step through this. So I'm done with the title slide. So in those transitions, we'll edit those out later in Camtasia's editor. So the first thing we've got to do is we've planned out our content. Now we're going to make some really important points in our lecture and illustrate some pictures. This here will be the transition band of our filter. And once we get through our lecture, we'll end and we'll stop recording and go back to the Camtasia editor. So at this point, I've got the recording opened in Camtasia that we just made of our couple demo slides. And we'll move along the timeline here and do some editing. The first thing that you'll notice is there was some extra stuff up here, and I really don't want that to appear. So I'm just going to select that region, remove that. So that's been removed, and then you can see as we go down through here that the audio content at the bottom, and that can sometimes be important cues, like for instance in this part of the presentation we had two things overlapping and I wasn't speaking anyway, so we might as well get rid of that. We were transitioning from the title slide to the first slide. If I edit that out, now you can see that I go straight from the title. Oops, I still got a little bit in there. So let's see, where did that come in? That came in right about there. We'll just delete this part. And now you can see that I make a nice transition from the title slide to my first point. And then here I have my second point, and I have my graph. And one of the things that you can do is add a cursor highlight. And I like to do that. So we'll go over to cursor effects. We'll take the cursor highlight and we'll drag it down to the timeline here. And you can see now I've got this highlight on the cursor. So as I move my pen around, it follows the cursor. You can delete some of this space here as well. And then once you're satisfied with the result, under the Share menu, at least in my Macintosh version of Camtasia, there's some options for exporting. I usually use the advanced export option. Then I can save this as an MP4 file or a format which can be used in my course management software or in YouTube.